I see a lot of people talking about Phase 4, Marvel's Phase 4, and a lot of people are complaining or they have issues with the way Phase 4 has been happening. And some of the issues I understand. I do. I'm not going to pretend like Phase 4 has been the most smooth rotation of films and now TV shows that Marvel has ever done before. I'm not pretending like I know exactly what we're building towards for the future of Marvel. Some people think that maybe we've peaked at Avengers Endgame, and ever since then, Marvel hasn't been able to reach those heights again. I'm here to talk about the state of Phase 4 and why I feel like Marvel, the MCU, is not going in the toilet, is not all trash and bad now. Black Widow was the first film in Phase 4, and some people looking back on this might wonder why. Why was Black Widow the first film of Phase 4? And some of, everything going on in the world and movies being delayed and schedules being delayed in general had a lot to do with it. But also, you could make the argument that a Black Widow film starring Scarlett Johansson should have come out years ago. Should have come out when this movie actually is supposed to take place, right? After Captain America Civil War, before Avengers Infinity War. That's when this movie should have come out, and I definitely agree with that. We should have already have gotten a Black Widow film. You could make the argument that because of the Black Widow character, where Scarlett Johansson took this character, that we should have 3 Black Widow movies by this point, and having a movie after the character has already died in Endgame was weird, but I am glad that ultimately we do have a Black Widow film at all, that there is a movie that's centered around her and her story, and it was more of a long overdue situation. ShangChi is one of the first introducing new characters for this new phase that I think actually worked. The reception of Shang-Chi was very good. It made a lot of money. It made a lot of people happy as far as representation goes. And I thought it did a lot for this character with his lore, his cultural backstory, and it did a great job of integrating the Mandarin character. We have way more Shang-Chi to go. He's going to play a much bigger role for what will come much later on. And then you had Eternals. And I will admit, Eternals is not a movie that I have been quick to go back and rewatch. I didn't hate the movie. I didn't dislike the film. I enjoyed it for what it was. I like the fact that it was Marvel trying something different, taking a story that was more serious, was on a bigger, epic-like scale, and they tried to delve into a lot of lore and mythology, bring some of that into the universe. And even though it might not feel like a big important film right this second, I think years down the line, we're going to look back and say, oh, okay, that's why Eternals needed to happen. That's why Eternals was made when it was made, because it is setting up stuff that will be important later, whether it's Celestials becoming a much bigger deal later on, whether they'll have something in connection towards Galactus, which I still am convinced that Galactus is coming at some point. Also, the post-credit scene introduced Thanos' brother, Harry Styles. You have to figure that that's going to play a big role at some point. And Black Knight, Jon Snow, you see that he's getting closer to becoming his comic book counterpart. And also, apparently we heard Blade's voice. It's kind of disappointing that we didn't just see Blade in full visual, but at least we know that Blade is there. At least we also know that a Blade movie is coming. So yes, things are being set up. Spider-Man No Way Home was just a big, huge, nostalgic, fun epic-like film. I mean, I don't have any complaints about Spider-Man No Way Home. I've rewatched it so many times. I know some people might think that, oh, they only just use nostalgia to get people excited. Whatever you might think, it worked. It got me hyped. It got me excited. And it made all of the money. If Spider-Man in general doesn't play much of a feature in future Marvel movies, I'm glad we were able to tell this one particular story. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, I have rewatched this film and I think I enjoyed it even more so the second time. I liked a lot of the stuff that they were setting up as far as the multiverse goes. I know that there are people who wanted more multiverse or wanted more maybe explanation for how the multiverse works and what it's going to mean in the future. And okay, sure, but I do feel like this is another film that will end up being very important for later films down the line. Thor Love and Thunder just came out, and I admit I did have some issues with this movie. I did have some complaints. I made a separate video if you guys want to see me talk about my issues with Thor Love and Thunder. Ultimately, it is still a fun movie. It is still something to have fun with. Thor is such a staple character for the MCU, so we're obviously going to get even more of Chris Hemsworth. But let us not forget that Phase 4 was the first phase to start doing Disney Plus series. And it's kind of crazy to think about. We might be taking this for granted, the idea that Marvel Studios has been putting out so many more projects. In Phase 4, we've had WandaVision, which I think was one of the most hyped and talked about shows each week as each episode was coming out. And it definitely elevated Wanda and Vision as characters in the fandom. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I think, did a great job of pushing a character like Sam to becoming not just a sidekick or not being the Falcon anymore. He is now our Captain America. And so I love that we already know that he is getting his own standalone film as our new Cap. Loki, which is not only great because of Tom Hiddleston and introducing the female Loki and Sylvie, but I thought this show was so innovative and inventive with how they handled sci-fi, how they handled time travel, how they introduced the idea of the TVA, and just how the universe was supposedly working and being controlled this whole time. And it's probably still my favorite show that has happened on Disney Plus, and I love that we know it's getting a second season. What If was something very creative and very cool because it was animated, because it did get a lot of the live action actors to do the voice, which made it feel more connected. And a show like this, especially when we get to season 2, you're going to be able to really get creative. You're going to be able to do a lot of different things. Moon Knight was something that the first time around, I think I just liked it. But then when I rewatched it and I was able to binge it all together, a lot of these shows end up being even better for me when I rewatch them a second time and I binge them closer together, because there is a lot more set up, a lot more played out, especially with the Moon Knight character. I think his story and his personalities are so fascinating. Oscar Isaac obviously is next level acting. Miss Marvel is the most recent show, and I think that I've seen that some people are divided. I've seen that some people are not liking this show, and I see that some people are loving this show. And I'm in the camp of I'm enjoying the show. I think I loved the first 2 or 3 episodes a lot. I loved the character of Kamala. I loved her family. I loved the friendship and relationship aspects that we saw. We also have a lot of future shows, like She-Hulk is something that I can totally see She-Hulk not being for everyone, but I can't wait to see that character introduced. I can't wait to see her and Bruce Banner, Hulk, interact a lot more. And I can't wait to see if this show is going to be more of a comedy. At least we know that beforehand. At least we know that going in. And that's just a show that hopefully we can just have fun with. Secret Invasion is also happening, and I admit I'm pretty hyped on that. Hopefully, I'm not overhyping it for myself because it is just a show, right? It's not going to be maybe as big scale and as huge as I want it to be, but we have Sam Jackson there. We have Skrulls there. So that clearly is going to be important. Ironheart is another character that is connected to Iron Man, and it is introducing a new character, Riri Williams. Armor Wars. That's something that I can't wait to see Don Cheadle, Rhodey, War Machine take center stage. And like a lot of these other shows that have had these more side characters step up to the main role, we still have Black Panther 2, and I have no idea what this is going to look like. They did not recast T'Challa, and so if this film doesn't work, if this movie is a mess, we almost have to give them a pass because of how many times the script had to be rewritten. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. This is something that, once again, Ant-Man's a more funny character. His movies are a lot more on the comedic side. We know that Kang the Conqueror, Jonathan Majors, who did show up in Loki as He Who Remains. We know that his Kang character will be in this film, and so I think that's what I'm looking most forward to. Is he just a one and done? Will he be set up for a future Secret Wars film, which is something that I am almost guaranteeing that we're building towards. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is something that I also think will be fun and is supposedly going to be the last Guardians film, or at least James Gunn's last film. The Marvels is a Captain Marvel sequel that obviously her character is a little controversial after her first film. It made over $1 billion, sure, but you have some people who might not love her. So it was very smart for them, for Marvel, to also have Monica Rambeau here, to also have Miss Marvel show up in these films, share the spotlight. And we also know that rounding out this phase will be a Fantastic Four film, and I can't wait to see how the MCU handles the Fantastic Four. We've seen so many other Fantastic Four movies, but never done by this creative force, by Kevin Feige himself. So, look, I understand it hasn't been perfect. I understand that for some people, it's still a bumpy road. And for some people, maybe they're checking out of the MCU, at least for the time being. But I guarantee you, whether it's a year from now, whether it's a couple years from now, whether we finally see this Avengers Secret Wars film or a Young Avengers movie or whatever the next big event film is, a lot of these movies will look better in retrospect, will be deemed more important in retrospect. And what the hell, in the event that I'm being a Marvel fanboy, in the event that you want to say I'm being a Marvel shill, even if we never get another great Marvel film from this point forward, you have to respect what the MCU was able to accomplish from all of their past great movies, from everything that they've built up, having all their movies have a connective tissue, build towards big events in their own universe. This is still something that other studios are chasing, are trying to do. Marvel is built in brand loyalty. I am loyal. I am. I fully expect to like what they end up doing. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of the MCU? What do you think of Phase 4? Has it failed for you? Or do you have hopes that it's still gonna be brought back together? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later.